Hello and welcome to the newest episode of the New Cal's Call video series. In this series, I'm just going to be going over a wider range of sports topics, from football to basketball, maybe some baseball in there, depending on Mickey's availability. So number one, just due to the current times, I think our first episode is going to be about Carmelo Anthony, potential fits for him. Obviously, the Rockets traded him in cash considerations to the Bulls, who are going to immediately cut him. So with that in mind, I'm just going to go over some potential options for him in terms of fit with the team and the team style in terms of signing him on and whether or not he would be an asset or a detriment to the roster itself. So I think first and foremost, the name that you're going to hear a lot of is the Los Angeles Lakers. Why is that? Mainly because of the LeBron-Carmelo connection. Obviously drafted in the same draft, friends before the draft, always been competitors, albeit in different conferences until he went to the Knicks. Carmelo did. So it's always going to draw those similarities as well as draw connections to the Lakers. If I'm the Lakers, though, I'm not looking to sign Carmelo. I don't think he's the greatest fit for the roster, especially at this point. I think more than likely they're not going to be competing for a playoff bid. I think the stretch run that they've had without LeBron has really hampered their playoff odds. Now, LeBron is the best player in the world. I'll give him that. But I don't know if he can take them to the playoffs this year. Maybe he can as a lower seed, and if that is the case, maybe bringing in Carmelo does make a little bit of sense. It'll give him some extra offense. But if you're looking at the power forward position, which Carmelo would more than likely play, you guys already have Kyle Kuzma, who's an offensive first four. You don't really want another offensive-minded forward coming off the bench. You more so want a defensive-minded forward to make up for Kyle Kuzma's lack of defense. So I don't think it's the best fit out there. Looking at another potential fit, you could look at the Philadelphia 76ers. Again, this is a team that could use the offense at the four position. Right now, they have Wilson Chandler there. I think he's at least better as a two-way player than Carmelo is currently, but Carmelo would be an intriguing option to bring off the bench, considering the starting five they already have. They already have the offensive firepower in the front lines in terms of the starters. Obviously, Ben Simmons is missing the jump shot. Carmelo Anthony could at least bring some instant bench scoring to them. And, at this point, to compete with the likes of Toronto, the Pacers, the Celtics when they have their act together, I think Carmelo would actually make a semi-decent fit there. Looking anywhere else, I don't see him fitting in too well. Obviously, I don't think the connection with the Nuggets is there. I don't think they would want to add him to a team that's already known to not be the greatest defensively. You don't want to add a defensive liability like Melo. Looking at the Clippers, that'd be an intriguing option. Obviously, Danilo Gallinari has faced some injury issues in the past and this current season, and they could look to get some offense off the bench or just coming in in the big man rotation. But they really aren't the strongest contender. They don't have that true number one superstar. I don't know if Carmelo would be okay coming off the bench to a team that doesn't have that. He's only looking to come off the bench if it's a contending team. And that's if he wants to come off the bench at all. I know at this point he should accept the reality that he is more of a bench player and an instant offense player than he is a starter. But you never know what his mindset is going into this new team. A team that could make a little bit of sense, although I don't know if it's something Carmelo would be interested in. The Pacers, they could use some instant offense off the bench in their rotation. The Bucks, if they could somehow find a way to fit him in, but I think between DJ Wilson and Thon Maker, as well as their bench rotation, I think they have enough big guys. I don't think he fits in there. I think he would just ruin kind of the chemistry of a rotation they have going on. Toronto, I don't think he fits into their defensive-minded mentality. Looking into anywhere else, the Pelicans, I think that'd be a logjam to add him to that current core. The Timberwolves, interesting option, but again, they have a lot of big men already in that rotation. They don't need Carmelo Anthony. A team that, would like to add him, but he probably wouldn't be interested in joining is, my favorite team, the Charlotte Hornets. They have the roster spot for him. They have the offensive need for him. Outside of Kemba, they don't have that great of offense offensive weapons. They have Malik Monk. He's getting better. They have Miles Bridges, who doesn't have the game to really set up for himself yet. Maybe adding a Carmelo would add that. But again, I don't think Carmelo's looking to go to Charlotte right now. I think he's trying to go to an actual contending team. But you never know. Maybe he is missing the spotlight of being one of the better offensive weapons. He could go to a place like Charlotte. It all depends upon what he truly wants. I've seen the Trailblazers floated around there and on some sites. I don't think he's the greatest fit there. I get that CJ McCollum and Dame wanted him there a couple years ago. But really, if this team's going to try to compete, they need to really build a defensive identity outside of their two lead guards who aren't the greatest defenders. They have Aminu out there at the 4 position. They could use some depth behind him. But, I mean, if you're looking at the Blazers roster, this roster desperately needs two-way players more than it needs a Carmelo Anthony. And I think that's why he's not the greatest fit there. You could connect the Warriors to him, albeit I don't think the Warriors would necessarily want him. Unless, you know, he's okay just coming off a minimal bench role, then that'd make sense. That would definitely make sense to add him to the Warriors team. You already have all the stars. Why not add a name like Carmelo Anthony? The downside is he could potentially be a distraction if he doesn't fit in correctly. So that's not something I think Bob Myers would be looking to do. The Miami Heat makes sense. Obviously, they're always chasing bigger names. They were looking to acquire him when he was actually playing at an elite level. They could still be looking to acquire him. Again, they're not a contending team. I don't think Carmelo would have them high on his list of priorities unless he's just looking for a place to retire. Then Miami would make a lot of sense. He's already been on the Thunder. That's not a fit there. The Mavericks, I don't think he's a fit in there. Again, I think that they already have enough offensive weapons. Although he would be a good bench piece, I don't think he fits into the timeline that the Mavericks are at. The Kings, they have a lot of young players that I think they need to let develop rather than sign a Carmelo Anthony. Really just naming off all the teams here. The Jazz, again, too much of a defensive mindset. The Memphis Grizzlies, he doesn't fit in the timeline. The Knicks, no, that's not an option. The Nets, I saw that somewhere. I don't know where he'd fit in along the lines there. I think they have a great core where they're at now. I think the best part about the Nets is they're like a pile of misfits. They're people that fell in the draft late. They're people that were picked high, but then felt the teams that drafted them felt they disappointed, such as D'Angelo Russell. Now they're all just a band of misfit toys that are performing really well together as a cohesive unit, and they're looking to make the playoffs, so they're primed for that. The Wizards, they've gotten back into playoff contention, or at least they're getting there, with Bradley Beal leading the helm. Obviously, they don't have Wall. They're not going to have him for the immediate future. They could look to add Melo for some scoring off the bench. The Spurs, I don't think he fits into the system. I don't think Popovich would necessarily want him. I don't think that's an R.C. Buford-type move to bring in a Carmelo Anthony almost halfway into the season, unless they desperately do need some offense. The Celtics, I haven't mentioned them. They're a contender. I don't think they make sense. Unless they really think that their bench that the slump their bench is in, and exclusively Jaylen Brown is in, if that's going to continue for an extended period of time. I don't believe it will, but if they do, maybe Carmelo makes sense there. That sums it up. Other than that, we're looking at a lot of bottom feeder teams that I don't think would make a lot of sense for Carmelo. You could say the Magic aren't necessarily bottom feeders, but they already have Aaron Gordon at the power forward position, and I don't think Carmelo wants to come off the bench in Orlando. So I think that's been it. I mean, there's the Pistons there. They already have Blake. And again, I don't think he's interested in coming off the bench in Detroit. So basically, you're looking at only maybe a couple fits between the Lakers, who I don't think should target him, but may just target him, the 76ers. And I listed both of those teams on a list of teams for Carmelo Anthony earlier in the season when we were saying that it wasn't going to work out for Houston. Or before he actually signed in Houston, I listed them as a couple of teams that could use him. That's still the case. We'll see how it all plays out. It all depends what Carmelo Anthony's mindset is and if he's okay going to a semi-contending team or just a playoff contending team rather than a championship contending team. So we'll see how it goes, but I just think that's the best fits for him. So that's going to be the end of this video. I'll definitely add some more to the channel. But thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys the next time. Thank you.